Next is someone whom my chairman refers to as the father of broadcasting in Nigeria. I first met him when I joined the Voice of Nigeria about 2 decades ago. When I started broadcasting, then I joined Voice of Nigeria. He was then the director of external service of the NBC, which has now transformed into the Voice of Nigeria. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the platform Dr. Christopher Kolade, and he'll be speaking about hate speech and the Nigerian broadcast industry. Please, he deserves much more love. Welcome him. I call him the grandfather of broadcasting. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much. Your Excellency, Deputy Governor of Lagos State, representing the Governor, John Momo, the Chairman of BON, who has invited me to come here. When I say he's invited me to come here, actually I use the word invited only to make it sound mild. He ordered me to come. Distinguished members of the High Table, leaders of the BON group, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Let me begin by apologizing for not being here at the very beginning. You would think that for the number of years that I've been coming through Lagos traffic, I should have it under control by now, right? But obviously not. So they did something on the roads today that made it impossible for me to get here when I wished to. I do apologize, but I'm here now. And one of the things they've said about me is that I'm the father or grandfather of broadcasting. I think I will exit soon before they get to great-grandfather. Ancestor even. Yeah. But if you've invited father or grandfather to come here to speak, you obviously know you're going to hear some ancient stuff, right? Now, let me just begin by, you notice I'm not speaking from a script because I prefer to speak to you as I see you. I know that there are many people here who have never met me before in person. So I can say with confidence that many of you have no reason either to love me or to hate me. All right? Because you have never met me. And yet I can tell you a story. When I was High Commissioner in London, and I had a meeting, I arranged a meeting with Nigerians in London. And a young man stood up in the back of the audience and said, now, I went to be High Commissioner at the age of 69. So by the time I'm talking about, I was into my 70th year. So this fellow got up and said, look, we want to know why Nigeria keeps recycling these old people and, bringing them here to, and he went on. That's hate speech, isn't it? So I have experience in hate speech. Actually, what I said to him was, look, young man, one of the things about recycling is that they only recycle you if the first time they cycled you, you did well. So I said to him, my advice to you, when you finish your studies here or you finish here, go home and allow yourself to be cycled for the first time. You may get to the point where they recycle you later. Hate speech. What is the origin of hate speech? How does it come to life? hate speech is an expression of what this individual has in his or her mind. There may be a good reason for it. There may be no reason at all for it. But it starts with our thoughts. We express those things that we are thinking. Sometimes the difficulty is that the human being can actually do something which is totally contrary to his own good sense. What's good sense? The chairman of INEC has been talking to us about next year, 2019 elections. Why do we want to have federal elections next year? Well, what's the reason for it? The reason is that we have a system that we have all accepted as the system we're going to operate for renewing the team for governance every 4 years. That's the reason. And why do we want to do that? Because we're all trying to build a nation. To build a nation where you and I can live comfortably, where you and I can raise our children, where you and I can make sure that the future which those children are going to have is one that they can cope with. In other words, there are good reasons why we want to have elections next year. But I wonder how many people who are thinking of elections next year, who are talking about it, who are doing anything about it, actually understand why we're going to elect people next year. You see, the point is this, that in order to behave like human beings, in order to manifest as human beings, we have to understand what is our identity. Who am I? Now, what do I have in common with the people that I see in front of me now? The first thing, the very first thing that I have in common with anybody in this hall is that I am a person, and so are you. When we talk about ourselves together, we say we're people. Now, that may sound trite, but it's important, because each person represents something critically important. And we all agree that we're going to combine our efforts to make Nigeria a great nation. That is what we have agreed to do. And of course, those of us who are conscientious and who do these things regularly, we pay our taxes, we do the other things that we should do, we refrain from abusing the environment, all in order that we may have a place where we can all be comfortable. But not just comfortable. We want a place where we can, each one of us, can be successful in what we've decided to do. Now, I want to succeed in whatever I set my hands upon, and so do you. But in order to succeed, I have to have an environment in which I can freely exercise, express that which I have within me. Now, while I'm doing this, I'm conscious of the fact that there are other people, other persons around who are trying to do the same. Now, if I came in here this morning And I just stood up and said, my name is Christopher Kolade. I have been Director General of this, I've been chairman of that, and so on.